Well, the Greens have claimed a fourth seat after retaining the seat of Melbourne and winning in the seats of Ryan and Griffith. Brisbane has now turned green as the so-called green slide continues. In his first interview since the call was made, Stephen Bates, the MP-elect for Brisbane, joins me on the line now. First of all, congratulations. Were you expecting this result?
Thank you so much, and thanks for having me. It's the first time I've heard the word MP-elect after my name, which is funny to hear. You know, we've been campaigning in Brisbane for well over a year now, and we got the vibe from people that the community, they were fed up, they were seeing no action on climate change, they were seeing a government that was just bought up by the fossil fuel industry and wasn't doing anything to help people. So we got a huge sense of frustration, and yeah, that's just, turned into this amazing result. So I'm obviously just so honoured to be chosen as the next member for Brisbane, but I'm not super surprised that people's anger and frustration has turned into this result.
And it's interesting because out of the seats that have been won, 2 are going from the LNP to the Greens. Do you think that this might just be a one-off time when people are angry at the Morrison government and Scott Morrison particularly, and then, it could be a real contest in the next election, and we're looking ahead heavily here? Or do you think this might be one that will be a permanent change, people moving towards, parties like the ALP and the Greens?
Yeah, good question. I think in Brisbane especially, we've seen, and not just in the seat of Brisbane, but across the city broadly, we've seen big swings to the Greens at the state level, at the local government level. And we have Michael Berkman, who's one of our state members of parliament here in Queensland, who, after he was elected, he took a seat off of the LNP as well. And in his second election, when he was running to get re-elected, he got a 14% swing towards him. So basically, I think what the learns from this are, when you have members of parliament who aren't bored by corporate interests or vested interests, who actually listen to the community and actually advocate and fight for what people genuinely want and fight to make people's lives easier and better, that's what results in positive swings on election day. So, I'm obviously not getting ahead of myself here or predicting anything in 3 years, but I'm just going to work as hard as I possibly can to be the best voice for Brisbane and to fight for the community and stand up for our community.
And it's going to be very interesting to see in Parliament, once we obviously get into Parliament, where we've got a crossbench that is just expanded in both the lower house where you are and the upper house. The ALP is going to be the next government, minority or majority, looking like majority. And while they've said things about working with the Greens, it's definitely going to be, they probably will be. Are there any things you want to, is there anything you want to achieve when you get into Parliament? Is there anything you want to push the ALP on?
Good question. I think that sort of decision or that answer really comes down to what we sort of talk about with my colleagues now, my colleagues in the party room. So I can't really give you a firm answer on that. But what I personally want to see is people feeling like they have a voice in politics again. So I want to be really, really out there in the community as much as possible when I'm not down in Canberra, making people feel like they have a stake in democracy again. Because I think that's why we've seen big swings against, the two major parties, because people don't see them as representing them anymore and feel like they're just in it for themselves. So I want to work really, really hard to be someone that's accessible to people, held accountable by people, and also, give people that stake in democracy again and give people a real say in what's happening. So that's sort of, I can't really give you too much more of an answer outside of that, but at the moment at least. But yeah, that's what I'm really excited to work on.
And just expanding on that, we have, as you mentioned there, seen a huge swing away from the major parties and towards minor parties, especially the Greens, and then you've also got the independents. Again, not trying to get ahead of myself towards 2025, but just in general, in terms of where Australia's going forward, because it's going to be very interesting. Do you think this is kind of going to be a permanent switch that people aren't going to turn to major parties in general now? Because 4 seats for the Greens, given you had one in only a couple of weeks ago, is quite extraordinary.
I hope it's a permanent change. I think it's amazing that the shift that's happened in politics in this country in the last week has been incredible. And I think it's really only going to serve democracy better. You know, we were one of the last remaining Western democracies that was stuck in this two-party system. So many other countries across the world, even the UK Parliament has so many more parliaments in the lower house than we do here. So I think it's a really, really positive thing. You know, it just shows that people in Australia are fed up with the status quo. They want action on climate change. They want action on the housing crisis. And they see us as the Greens as providing a solution, or in other seats they see the independents as being able to provide a solution. And I personally think it's amazing, and I really hope it does continue. That we see, you know, shifts to different voices, whether it's, you know, these teal independents or to the Greens or whoever it may be. I think it's, overwhelmingly a positive for democracy that we're seeing a shift away from the status quo of politics.
We'll leave it there. Stephen Bates, MP-elect for Brisbane for the Greens in his first interview since that was projected earlier today. Thanks very much for your time, and hopefully we can catch up soon and into the future, and this will be one of many interviews. Thanks for your time.
Yeah, definitely. No, thank you for having me. Thank you so much.